Remind me.
Oh, my cheat sheet.
Well, you're live. Go get your cheat sheet.
I'll be right back. I need my cheat sheet.
Well, good morning. And Josh is a little bit behind today, but he'll be right back. And so you're stuck with me for a couple of minutes. So I just want to say good morning and how are you? And hope that you're doing well. And we have lots to tell you this morning. I just don't know what it is.
Welcome to Quilt Talk.
It's not so easy going solo, is it?
And I forgot to say welcome to Quilt Talk.
That's right. That's usually the lead. Although I don't think I ever start with that. So
Oh, good.
No, you just jump right in.
we just start blabbing. Are we on Instagram?
I did hit the go live.
Sweet. Good morning, everybody.
And we have
morning. This is
internet
so exciting.
signal. It's
so
good.
many different techie things going on here. It's amazing to me. I am so glad I am just standing here, kind of the eye candy portion of the show.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's awesome.
What's amazing is that we work.
That is amazing.
You know what, though? Really, technology has improved, and it's so common now that it's really not difficult to figure out. If you plug certain things in and then read a little bit and kind of follow some instructions, you can figure it out.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Good morning, Maria. Good morning, Martha. How's it going up in Louisville? It's actually probably chilled out a little bit.
It's I found out something today that Facebook is going to not allow apps in their groups anymore. So if you're sending it to group,
back, I believe. Okay.
we're back with.
Apologies. We were frozen, and I don't think it was a funny face, which is good. I think last time we were like, and every single time I said technology is awesome, it froze. Literally twice.
We're
last
not
time.
going to say that
I just
ever
said it.
again.
So if we do freeze, just
Be patient.
be patient
Yeah.
because we'll be right back. We're working on getting some new internet, and I think maybe I just heard something about some changes on Facebook. So anyway, bear with us. What I was saying was please like and subscribe, because those of you that aren't here with us right now forget, and it helps them remember that we're on, and maybe hopefully new people find us. Also, we don't have many people that hang out with us on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, which I love Instagram just for sharing photos.
Me
Facebook has a lot of information and there's groups, but as far as like just for photos, images, reels, short videos, Instagram's really, honestly, it's pretty. I love the layout. So follow us on Instagram, which is really cool.
Can you share from Instagram? Oh, I can.
You can share on Instagram. Yeah. Good morning, Joann. Good morning, Denise. Yes, I'm back. All right, fantastic. Maria says love spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's funny. Good morning, Linda. Okay, I think we said good morning to everybody. So yeah, again, thank you for hanging out with us, but we want your friends to hang out with us too. So like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Cheat sheet. Quilt show's coming up. Whoop, whoop. Daytona.
Is that 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Is it 2 weeks? Oh my gosh. I forgot what to do.
But we have two things in between there.
Yeah, we have two events before that. It's
wow.
the 21st,
First.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Okay.
I think that's, yeah.
Yep.
So
4
it's
days.
like, it's 4 days. So it's
I guess
Wednesday,
it's 2 weeks.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. So it's a few weeks. I think it's 3.
Now, Wednesday, is everything open on Wednesday, or is it just for classes and the evening thing?
No. It should be
Everything's
vendors are open because we're setting up on Tuesday.
Okay.
So doors open. I don't know about the class schedule though,
Mhm.
because I would love to take some classes, especially with Kestrel. But we're stuck in a booth.
Mhm.
a bunch of booths, having fun. We're not stuck. We love being there.
Yeah, because you get to talk to all those people that kind of.
Yeah. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it should just be all vendors open, and then I assume classes are going on
Yes, they are.
for those days as well. Looking forward to seeing some amazing art quilts and just traditional quilts as well. Just I love the quality of quilts that are at that show.
Mhm.
It's really awesome.
It's
So
amazing.
yeah, and so if you guys are on the fence whether we're going to go to Daytona or not, you should go. It's going to be awesome. For if only the reason just to see us, just
Yes.
to come say hello, support us. We've got a huge AccuQuilt demo area in the booth, of course. So you know how we do at the shows, best pricing all year. But I love that AccuQuilt is a sponsor of AQS, so they really get this awesome demo space. So people who have questions or just want to play with them, the AccuQuilt educators are there. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Tony knows her stuff. Like, we're pretty good at this.
So does Tamara.
But
Tamara's
and
good.
so is Tamara. But it's really nice when you have like an educator from.
Yeah, and it's all set up, and it's all you get to look at a lot of different stuff, and it's the whole show thing is just inspiring.
Yeah.
It just gives you a lot of new ideas and
Should get you pumped up and ready to go home and
Exactly.
sew or quilt.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's for sure.
like, can you take your sewing machine with you so as you can sew as you're driving home?
If you have an RV,
That's what EPP's for, right?
that's right.
So that's gonna be fun. We also have the Aero Kangaroo booth, and then we have our cut up and sew booth. So we're gonna have a bunch of fun panels. We got some new, really cool quilts that I'm excited to show at the show.
Okay.
We'll have a trunk
some cool
show, too.
samples. What's that?
We'll have a trunk show too.
We'll have a trunk show.
I think it comes in before then.
I don't want to jinx it. We've got a few trunk shows in the
Yeah,
works, though,
pretty
which
exciting.
I'm really excited about. Once we have them 100% and dates set, we'll let you guys know about them.
Fun.
I do know that the entire month of April we'll call it April Art Month. Artsy April.
Oh, really?
Title in the works, but
Uh-huh.
That's
But-
a really good one.
right. So we have I think it's a 70-piece art show.
Yes.
It's a traveling trunk show with Sakwa that is going to be here the entire month of April. I'm pretty sure.
What does Sakwa mean?
You know what? What does Sakwa stand for?
I think it's like South Artist something quilts.
Art Quilt
Mhm.
Association.
Yeah.
South. Yeah. Anyway, it's an art group, art guild. I don't know if they call themselves a guild as much as a club or an organization, but art
And they're
art
gonna have their
quilts.
stuff here in this shop.
So
but they're
it's a
small.
traveling art show.
Uh-huh.
Like it's a trunk show, but it's all art quilts and they're small. So I think I'm pretty sure they said 70 pieces.
Yeah, they did.
And I go,
Wow.
I can't put 70. She goes, no,
They're
they're small.
small.
So I think we're going to line the entire classroom here,
Uh-huh.
which is really cool. And then they're going to be here one of the Saturdays, I believe the Saturday with Java with Josh,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. So we'll get to talk to them. And I get super excited. I mean, look, this is all art. Every quilt's art. We have this conversation all the time, but people do think of art quilts a little differently.
Differently, yeah.
Yeah.
All kinds of interesting stuff. That ought to be really excited. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I'm super thrilled. So that I do know is in April. Artsy
Okay.
April.
I think that'll be fun, yeah.
But that's cool.
Mhm.
I love it when it starts with the same letters.
Mhm.
So let's see. Okay, quilt show. I'm excited. You should be excited too. We'll see you there. Hopefully before then. Shop Hop. I didn't bring the magazine, but we still do have Shop Hop magazines. I'm holding it. Picture it here. See?
Shop hours during Daytona.
Oh, okay. So
Just be mindful.
Daytona shop hours. We will post them. They'll be on Google and our website. Most likely we will close. We'll be open, but most likely we will close at 3:30ish. I'm actually going to let Christy decide
Mhm.
since she's going to stay and hang out here and take care of the shop for us. Shan as well, then she has to go pick up the kiddo.
Mhm.
So I think the hours will be adjusted for short. And Saturday we may or may not be open. I promise we'll let you know ASAP. By the end of the week, you'll know.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
It's nice that they're here because Daytona is not that far away. So if we run out of something or we need something, it's really cool that, or if someone's at the show and we run out, they can stop by the shop and get it, which is really, it's convenient for us.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then back to the Shop Hop, we still do have Shop Hop magazines, not a lot,
Mhm.
just FYI, the stack is getting thin, but the Shop Hop is all of March and April. 75 shops. If you have no idea what we're talking about, it's called the All Florida Shop Hop. It's crazy. It's awesome.
It is a fun thing
Yeah.
to do. Okay, let's move on to this fabric because this is gorgeous.
You want to get to the fabric? She's excited. She's like, I want this out of my way. I purchased a ticket. We'll attend Friday. Awesome. Fantastic. Good morning, Leah. Good morning, Kendra. All right. Yes, this fabric is absolutely stunning. This is the panel that is a part of the line. Frond Nouveau.
Really beautiful.
Art Nouveau. Which camera should I use? Probably this one.
I'll use this one.
You want to
Let
use
me
this one?
hang on. Let me put it on first.
We'll turn it this way.
There we go.
We just got this in, and I love it because it's a different type of colorway than we've recently been getting in a lot of the real bright, fun purples and teals, which I love. But these are so pretty.
Oh yeah, they are. They're turning up on the camera. Awesome.
Does it
This
show good?
almost became the back of this. I had a hard time not buying this.
Yeah.
I love the coordinates.
I do too.
Yeah.
I actually really like these little swirlies.
They're awesome. And one of the things I like about them is this is not a linear dot print.
Right.
It's just all random,
Asymmetric,
which is
Different.
much easier to work with.
Yeah, non-directional.
Pretty.
Yeah, it's
It is
really
pretty.
pretty. Even the brown's pretty. That rust.
You know, I think this might be because there's 3 different colorways with a different background. I think the rust or whatever color that is probably my favorite. Oof.
And look, it gets stripe.
Oh, wow. Oh,
I know. It's fantastic.
I didn't see the stripe before.
Very nice.
Frond Nouveau.
Looks like a slices of a tree, Kendra says.
Slices of a tree. It's the prettiest tree I've ever seen. So we're trying to decide what to make with this. Honestly, we were going to do a quilt, but I think it'll be gone by the time we got a sample done. They have some really cool bag samples that I think we should shoot for. I'd like to bring at least some of this to Daytona, so maybe we could get a bag sample done by then.
Yeah, so if he's taking it to Daytona, you want to make sure you buy it, come in. If you like it, come in and get it now because it won't be there after Daytona.
That's true. And honestly,
Ugh, I love that one.
I almost hope that it doesn't make it to Daytona because I really want people to be able to get this.
Mhm.
It's very pretty.
It is so pretty. All right, we can.
Wonderful. Here, put
How many
it
you want
in.
to carry? 4. We have a lot of new fabric in. Of course, we can only showcase or spend so much time on Monday mornings talking about fabric, but this one, oh, I don't know. Concrete Jungle is still my favorite, but it's not an entire line. So
You can have more than one favorite.
that doesn't, no, that's the opposite of the word favorite.
Well, you know, all of my quilts are my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Exactly.
That's true. Rust. Yeah. Okay. Some of it would make awesome binding. I agree. Slices of a tree. That's awesome. Okay. Tons of new fabric in, but that's what we wanted to show you today. And again, this is the panel that goes along with it. Absolutely stunning. I haven't done this in a while, but Tony pointed out that we got a put in that I've been waiting on for a long, long time. And that kind of spawned just grabbing a few notions and things that we really, when we started doing Quilt Talk, we talked about every Monday,
Yeah.
I think, like a
And
notion of the
we've had
day.
it for a long time.
Well, you know, we kind of
Expanded and
play by ear and then wing it. And so the bi-level foot. Now with Baby Lock, they have, this is the left side. I don't know if the camera will be able to pick up.
Try that one.
Well, maybe if I put it behind this pink on the Martelli. Does it show it at all? Does it pick it up enough?
Yeah, just tilt a little.
So you can see
Oh
there
yeah.
is a raised side right here. Does that show it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. The beauty and the reason we got this is when I went to Baby Lock Tech, I saw them doing binding with a serger and then this foot. And I put the strips on the quilt with the serger and I loved it. Maria was like, yeah, I don't know, but I loved it. I thought it was fast and I'm all about fast. And the amount of samples we have to do binding quick is a game changer. So zip it on, but then I didn't have this foot. The idea is you zip it on with a serger, fold it over, and then because of the raised side, you literally just butt it up against to the inside of the The binding is folded over, and it just
Mm-hmm.
holds it in place. Does that make sense? You look
Yeah.
confused.
So you're single. If you're straight line stitching, so if you're
Straight stitch.
Right.
Yeah, correct. So see, you fold your binding over,
Right.
and then here we go. It's like we got a quilt. So if we were going, see how it's got the lip on it. So you butt it up against it and just.
So now, does this come in a set of two? Because I see that it says left.
So this would be the left,
Uh-huh.
where the actual, if you're looking at it, the thing's on the right. So this would be the one for binding,
Mhm.
because most of the time your quilt is to the left of your
correct.
needle. It can't be that you only have so much space in your throat. So this one would make more sense for doing binding. But there is a bi-level foot right, so that the bump is on the other side. And I'm not sure exactly when the best time for that would be.
Probably clothing, probably piping and
Garment,
clothing. Yeah.
piping.
Something.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know, the other thing that this does is that, and I know this because the foot that I use for binding has this deeper ledge on it. And so when you're putting your binding on to begin with, if you can, that ledge is nice and strong, and you can lean it up against the edge of your quilt itself and put your binding on. Your binding goes on nice and straight, and you know, it's
So
kind
you
of,
bump it up on the outside versus the
Mhm.
inside,
yes,
which I guess you could do with the other.
When you apply it.
yeah.
When you,
Oh yeah.
Mhm. And that's what I do with the foot that I use on my machine.
What is it called? Is it called a binding foot?
No.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
yes, it is, but I don't use it the way it's supposed to be because I don't have time.
You're not alone. So, and this is the baby lock, but
Yeah.
Janome also has one. I think it's either on the way or just came in also. I'll have
It
to
has
double
not
check.
come in.
I didn't even know that these came in yet. So I'm excited, but I love everybody, and we're working on getting a binding class for
April.
sure. What's that?
April.
April. We've worked on it. We've succeeded.
You just don't know anything today.
Let us help you.
Whew. That's awesome. Okay, so in April we're going to have a binding. A lot of people struggle with binding, and so for me, and I love anything that can be done correctly but quickly,
Efficiently.
efficiently. Yeah, that's even better. So I love this mixed with a serger, and technically, if you don't want to do the serger, you can still use this. I get it. Or if you don't have a serger. Okay, I'll go super fast. Also, I just wanted to point out Supreme sliders. All right, so if you do any free motion work, ruler work, you pretty much need this.
So what's the difference between the super slider and the supreme slider? Are they both made by the same people?
They're
One's
both
bigger.
called Supreme sliders. This is the Gypsy quilter that just came out.
Mhm.
The beauty of this, and we've always used I forgot,
They're called super.
the only Supreme slider that's been around for forever. It's real expensive.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, it's worth every penny,
Mhm.
but it's expensive. And so I love that Gypsy Quilter came out with the same thing, and it's purple, to be honest with you. So Tony and I are obviously suckers for purple, but it's less expensive, which it's great. In fact, it's not expensive at this point. It's awesome. So this is the larger, it's different sizes.
Okay.
Same thing, it's just that
I use mine
Size.
for t-shirt quilts too,
for t-shirt quilting.
Yeah.
Wow.
because to piece your t-shirts, it sticks on your, you better your machine, so it just slides with that.
Yeah, if you're not sure exactly what this is, stop in and ask for a demo. So there's a little teeny hole in this little sheet that goes right on the bed of your machine, and your fabric just slides. I mean, it's a slider, so but it doesn't move. So it allows for the fabric to glide so much better.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Even if you have a brand new baby lock, which they're kind of known for being really smooth on top, and they are probably the best as far as that goes. This is so much better. So Supreme sliders are in and cheaper. Whoop, whoop. No, not cheaper, less expensive. Nothing's cheap.
Right.
Better value.
Better value. That's right. And then something that we have had in stock for a long time, sold out of, had it in stock, sold out of it, got it back in, and I don't think anybody knows. This is the Martelli, what's the official name? Round cutting mat. Roundabout base is this here, but we've decided you pretty much would want all three of these. So we've kind of bundled it up for you instead of you having to buy this and that. So the idea is, everybody knows what a cutting mat is, but with the swivel, it makes it really, really nice. It's still in the plastic, obviously, but it's a good size. What is this? The 16 and 3/4.
It's nice that it's so big. And it's nice,
Yeah.
the square ones, a lot of these rotating mats are square.
Yeah.
And that is kind of awkward on your table because maybe you'll have it sitting like this and it's just perfectly fine. But when you go like this,
The corner.
when you turn it, the
Mhm.
corner hits whatever's to the side. So it takes up more room. So the round mats are really nice.
Yeah, they are. And then this is just a Martelli ironing pad, basically,
Can you
which you
put
can
that-
put right on.
If you're ironing, can you put this on top of this or do you have to move this off?
I think that's the idea.
Is it real? I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
Mm-mm.
I'll have to call Joe at Martelli.
Yeah.
But why would they make it round if you couldn't?
Well, I don't think you want to iron on top of your mat though, because the heat can penetrate and
You think
Warp your
we'll go
mat.
through that?
is that wood?
We'll find out.
Oh, okay, maybe not.
I'm pretty sure the idea. Now, maybe what they want you to do is remove the mat. And
Right,
just
right,
put
right.
This on here, which is that's still my whole thing is convenience. I
It
don't
is
want to be
very-
like, well, let me move all this to do this, but I mean, and that fits on it perfectly. It's the exact same size, so that's possible. I mean,
That's
I get what you're saying. You don't usually want to apply heat to your cutting mat.
Mm-mm.
In fact, you never do.
Mm-mm.
No, but I was liking the fact that you could just put this
Just-
on.
Well, this is the same thing. So this Martelli table that we have on, when you purchase the table, you get the exact same size of this ruler, one of these, and the whole point of it is you put it right on top of it.
Oh, so
and
then I
iron
guess
on it. So that's why in my mind it's
Makes sense.
like they thought it through.
It
That's very cool.
I
is
will
cool.
confirm though with Joe, but I'm 90% sure. You guys are making me doubt myself. I was going to say 95, but I don't want anybody to mess up their math. So we'll find out for sure. So just some new stuff. We're always getting notions in. Truthfully, half of the time I don't know that we got new notions in. Somebody comes in and says, "Do you have?" And I'm like, "No, but I can order it," and it's on the shelf. Because honestly, we have people like Tony and Maria and Tamara who they listen to you guys and you ask for stuff. Also, they're different types of sewers than I am. They're different from each other. So there's so many notions. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
But we're always looking for new things. And again, if there's ever something we don't have, we can always get it for you.
Exactly.
Exciting stuff. I love this industry.
And I think it's just either a sign of my age or I don't know what it's a sign of, but I love standing in front of a Notion wall and just looking at it and figuring out what I need next.
Need. Well, I see people all the time and they'll come in and they just love gadgets and things. And they're like, what's new and exciting that I need?
Yes, exactly.
And it's such a hard question to answer because I know. Exactly. What do you have at home? So much stuff that you probably don't use, but the right tool does make the job easier.
Right.
And so it's really cool when you find that one thing. Like we did the stuff you can't live without.
Yeah.
in that episode. You know, so you're going to constantly be adding to that.
Always.
Yeah.
And dropping other stuff off.
This is technically, it was not, or was it on my list? I feel like it was. If not, it should have been.
This is a good thing.
This is something I can't live without because that's really all I do is I play and I very rarely do a straight stitch with feed dogs. Let's see. I think I'm done. We were going to just mention because we did on study hall. I'll just pretty much mention that every Saturday. If you didn't catch us the last 2 Saturdays, we started a thing called study hall Saturday at 9 a.m. Tony and I and a teacher. We're trying to do a teacher every week now going forward. Just talk about classes and classes only. Because we have so many events and classes that it's really nice to be able to just focus on that versus sprinkling one in here and there.
That's nice to see different teachers and kind of get a feel for who they are.
Absolutely. In fact, you're going to join us one Saturday, I imagine. What's nice about having you here is we can kind of talk about your classes, which is cool. You get more airtime than the rest. But I do want to mention, just because they just came up, do you mind handing me? I just want to show the door banners. This is up. There's only 12 of them. Okay, so there's one for every month. We're starting. There's 12 kits every month.
Oh.
There's 12 kits and there's 12 months.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the first one that we are doing. Each door banner will be done the month before the holiday it's intended for, or before the season. So this is the first one, and I'll just let you guys know we had to talk about this or Saturday with someone. Tony said this is probably the most difficult. So if you are beginner, maybe do the next one. Just FYI, or get it, do the rest of them, and then save this one for the end for next year.
Yeah.
Because it's really small.
It's skill building. It's what it is.
Skill builder, yeah. Which is great for new people, but I wouldn't start here because it's really small.
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be frustrated. And we just don't want that. So there's this one, and then Christy finished hers, which is awesome. This is, I think you said, the only applique one, right?
Yeah, from what
And
I
I
can
think
tell.
this is all machine applique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what she's going to teach.
Yeah. And so when you sign up and purchase the class, you will get the kit for the month, but also we're doing some education for each banner.
Correct.
And there's only 12 of them. That's why I wanted to make sure you guys know we're trying to push this pretty heavy because we want people to be able to get it before it's gone.
All right.
So my question is, forgotten.
Never
Never mind.
Don't you love that?
No.
It might come to you.
Oh, do they? So it's not a class where they bring their sewing machine and work on it.
It's 3-hour class.
They do bring
They
the
can.
machine and they do work on it. They just
Okay.
won't complete it.
Right. And I think
I don't think.
no, you won't complete it.
Yeah.
And just come to class with your fabric cut. That way you can jump right in. I'm not
All
gonna
right,
teach cutting.
fabric cut.
Yeah, there's probably some. Well, we will either email you or reach out to you, or there's instructions on the website. I don't really know.
I
but,
did put that on there.
You are bringing your machine because even though it's only 3 hours, the idea for this one, you're probably going to do like a block so that you learn the technique.
Yep.
And then you can
Tips.
go home and tips and tricks, but also you're going to be sewing. It's not only lecture.
Right.
The idea is to get hands-on experience, but yes, you will have to have your stuff cut up because it's a 3-hour class. So you got to come to class prepared.
Mhm.
Yeah, because there's a lot to learn on this one. This is not a.
Well, the applique one, you might not want to come prepare. Just come to class
Uh-huh.
because she'll teach
We'll
you
reach
how-
out to you.
Yep.
Just sign up for it.
Yeah,
There's
'cause
12
they're
of
going
them.
fast.
Pick the ones you like because they're going to be gone quick. There's only 12 kits. We cannot get more. Just FYI. So I'm excited about that.
Okay.
What is the name of class? I missed that. The door banners. Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, but
Martha?
it'll be the fourth Thursday of the month.
Fourth Thursday of the month. It's called the Riley Blake.
That's not what we called it.
We don't call it the Riley
'Cause-
Blake,
'cause
but it is Riley Blake. And it comes in a really nice little cute package, like, wrapped up in a bow.
It's called Seasonal Door Banner Delights.
Seasonal Door Banner Delights.
You know, this is not a Riley Blake shop. How did you?
Love Riley Blake's packaging.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think
Yes.
that they do a really good job, and I like some of their little notions. And it is a little cutesy, some of the stuff for my personal flavor. But I've found like some of the panel, like we've gotten quite a bit of Riley Blake actually.
Mhm.
I don't know, they've done a good job.
Yes, they have.
Yeah. So
I look at some of
I
the
guess
stuff and I
technically-
think, if I could have just thought of that myself, I'd be really rich right now.
you probably don't think of this as a Riley. I think it's a Facebook thing then.
There we go.
Are we back? Wow, now we've got two. Oh, now 3 pictures, 2 pictures, 4 pictures.
What? What's it doing?
What?
Okay, we're back.
Okay.
That was bizarre.
It's the browser just completely shut down.
The browser shut down. Okay, so let me make sure we got audio.
The browser just
Yep, we can hear us complaining.
completely.
We're back on. Sorry about that. We were just talking about how awesome
The banner.
of a job we did. Yeah.
Never again.
So banners, and yeah, we do have tons of Riley Blake.
Okay.
Yeah. So. All right, I think I'm done. We've talked about all the fun little gadgets, quilt shop, show the fabric. It's your turn. The
Okay.
floor is yours.
All right. So today, I was teaching a class recently, and someone in the class said, "How do you make a scrap quilt that is organized looking?" So she didn't want to make that kind of scrap quilt where you throw all your scraps in a pile and then you just pick out a fabric and you keep adding to it and you make your quilt like that. Because quite honestly, that works for some people. It does not work for me. I tend to look at that and think, oh my goodness, this looks like my fabric room threw up on a quilt. It's just awful. So I started thinking about that question and thinking, what makes a successful scrap quilt where you're not, where it has a more organized look for it? And I came up with some ideas. And but one of the things that I really thought about was, if you are a quilter, you're guaranteed two things. You have a lot of quilts, and the second is you have a lot of scraps. So you don't want those to just accumulate into this great big huge pile of fabric that you don't know what to do with. Because honestly, all those little pieces cost just as much as that big the big 1 yard cut that you have. So you've got an investment in them, and you might as well use them. And the scraps always give you an opportunity to make a lively quilt without putting out very much money for it.
Yeah.
So
use scraps. So that's true.
Use scraps. So you want to use them up. So this quilt behind me, this log cabin, is completely made out of scraps from my scrap pile. Obviously, I have one of those big things, piles of scraps. But this is all made out of that, and it's pretty much black and white with red. And so, and there's nothing like a black and white quilt for drama. I mean, it's just, they always look great.
The contrast is,
Mhm.
I agree with you.
The high contrast is just awesome.
With a sprinkle of color.
Mhm.
Pop of color.
Pop
That's
of color,
right.
yeah.
Mhm.
I love it.
So, and the other thing is, scraps are kind of a reminder that you may be buying too much fabric. So if you've got a lot of fabric left over after you finished a quilt, maybe you need to cut back. I know that I'll talk to people and they'll say, well, how much fabric do I need to do the binding on this? And I'll say half a yard. They say, I better buy a yard just in case. So there you have a half a yard of scraps. And so maybe you overbought for that. And so anyway,
On the other hand, you really like it.
Yes,
You're going to find something to use it for, like a log cabin. So,
well, I will tell you, the other quilt I'm working on right now is one for my granddaughter that's going to be born in a couple of months, and it's pink and white. And as I was pulling out fabric from it, because it's primarily scraps, and as I was pulling out fabric, I realized that some of the fabric I was pulling out, I had used in a quilt that I'd made for her mother probably 8 years ago.
wow.
That's kind of cool.
That is cool.
It's cool to be able to have that fabric in there, but the fact that I still have that fabric is a problem.
Yeah, well, and I'm not an enabler. That's not where I was going. Like, you should buy more fabric.
Uh-huh.
But truthfully, like, in more times than not, people do say, "Oh, well, just give me a yard."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that means you're going to really like it. Hopefully, especially if you keep listening to Joann, you'll actually find a way to use that.
use it.
Yeah. And you're not just adding to a pile.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things you can do with scraps that become more organized. And so this is an example of one. And my idea here was that whenever I finished a quilt, I was going to make a star. And can you hold that?
Yeah. Do you want to put it on this camera, or is this one good?
Whichever, where should it be
That's
turned?
great.
Just
Okay.
good?
So as you can see, I was working in a shop where they were primarily, I can't even think of the name anymore, but the more reproduction fabric
Reproductions, yeah.
and fabrics that went with reproduction fabric. So these were all different quilts that I made, and every time I made one, I would make a star, and I put it together. And then I started
cool.
using different kinds of fabrics, and they didn't really go in here anymore. So I had to stop.
And then she met me and realized she couldn't get any of this fabric here.
And like, Florida does not have a big supply of this kind of fabric. So anyway, but this is one thing you can do. You can, sorry.
No, that's why I whispered it. You weren't supposed to hear that.
So one thing that you can do is you can come up with a block. Now, the other thing, if
I
you're,
love this idea, actually.
I did too.
if you were going to do, let's say you wanted to do that sort of thing where you made a block out of leftover fabric every time you finished a quilt, then I encourage you to make a simple block, because one of the things that happened with this one is this block took me a long time to make. So
Yeah, you did choose the It's a pretty rough block. It's worth it though.
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't do it again.
2, 4. I mean, this
Tiny.
Yeah.
block has probably 20 pieces in it, and so between choosing the fabric and getting it all together and sewing it and everything, it took a long time to make it. So choose something simpler. And there's, like you could do a square and a square, or you could do a simple, maybe a friendship star turned on point, or, there's just any number of things that you could do, but choose a shape, you can make it between 6 and 8 inches and come up with a nice little quilt, nice little thing. Now, nice little block that you eventually put into a quilt. Now, one of the things that I really think is important when you're doing a quilt that's made out of scraps is your background, because a background is not just something that it shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be something you put a lot of thought into. So now when you look at this quilt here, the black has a lot of different fabric in it, and they both have a lot of different fabric in it, but there's a lot of fabric in the black that kind of stands out and you notice it. But when you look at the white, you don't see that. Now there's still, if you look at this white up close, you'll see that there's tons of different patterns, and there's lots of different color in it, but nothing really stands out.
Right, but I love that there's like the neutral or the cream color in there as well. Just it softens it, which is really nice.
Yes.
And I like that it's not all just literally white.
No. And I think
black.
that stark white doesn't usually, at least it doesn't work for me. It provides too much contrast, but you soften it out with a little bit of color. But the thing that I really wanted you to notice here is there's no neutral color with a standout design on it, because if you do that in your background, it's going to detract. That's what you're going to look at. You're going to see that it's going to stand out, and you'll see that instead of seeing the design that goes on here. So,
absolutely right. That's the one thing I will say about a lot of the fabric that I pick out. It is very busy. It's bright. It's bold, And so we've been conscientious. I can't say that word. We've been really thinking about that. And so that's a tough one. I know now nobody can say it, but trying to get blenders and things. And I know it's a little bit different than what you're talking about with the scraps, but certain fabric is hard to put as a background.
Right.
You just, even no matter how much you love it, it's tough.
Yeah, you want your background to really highlight the rest of your quilt, not take over for it.
I'm gonna practice saying that word. It's gonna drive me crazy. I'm gonna YouTube it later.
That's one of the first words that goes before you start getting dementia.
This is the end. Enjoy it while it lasts, huh? Oh boy.
Okay, so so you want to have a plan when you're dealing with scraps. So like I have a friend, and I think she does a great job of this. She'll come up with an idea, like she wanted to make a tumbler quilt. So every time she dealt with, and she loves scraps anyway, but every time she'd finish a quilt, she would get out her AccuQuilt and she would cut tumbler blocks, and she'd just put them in a pile. And then when she got enough of them, she put together a tumbler quilt. You can do the same. You can do the same thing with any shape that you want. Let's say you wanted to make a apple core quilt, or I don't know, hexagon quilt. Any one of those things, you can just start cutting those in advance, having them all stacked somewhere, so that when you got enough of them, you could put that together. So having a plan and thinking about your scraps before you have a mountain of them is a good way to kind of keep them under control. Let's see. So anyway, but I will admit that when I was asked about the more organized scrap quilt, that's what I like. I like something where it's I think you were calling it a modern traditional quilt.
Oh, that's what I called it.
Or you called it, Tony called it a modern traditional quilt. And I was talking to Tony last week about scrap quilts, and she said, I don't like scrap quilts. And I think that some of that comes from just not putting, just not really putting the scraps together in such a way that that makes them really sing, as opposed to just
throwing them all together.
Throwing
Like
them all
I've heard of
together.
scrappy quilts, which I think that's fine. They're cool, you know, but that is like just random colors. There's not, this is very strategic. So I can see there's a difference, I think.
Yeah.
Using scraps in a scrap quilt, that I wouldn't call that a scrap quilt.
Yeah.
In my mind, you know what I mean? Like if I said
too
this is a
colorful.
scrap quilt, people aren't gonna, that's not what's gonna register.
That's not what's going to register, but it still is. It still is.
True.
And the other thing you can do is, instead of looking at all your fabric and saying, okay, well, I'm going to make a scrap quilt and I've got all this fabric, I'm going to put it all in there.
All of it's going in.
Yeah, and those are the quilts that for me are totally overwhelming. But what you can do is say, okay, I want to make a scrap quilt. I'm going to use my background, my neutrals. I'm going to put my neutrals in this pile with no big pattern on it. And I'm going to put in this pile all of my blues, and just take out all of your blues and use your blues, or limit it. Like one of my favorite ways to put a scrap quilt together is blue, red, and brown. And for some reason, I love how they come out. Now, those are kind of traditional colors for me, not for everybody, but everybody has those colors that you love, and find those colors you love and use those, and just limit the amount that you're using as opposed to using everything. I think that scrap quilt is an art of its own, and there's tons of websites out there that kind of give you some ideas of how to set them up. I know Bonnie Hunter, a very prolific quilter, has a scrap system, and she advocates for, she cuts up all her scraps into different sizes. And it's a very nice system as long as you use her patterns and you're working with her sizes. Now, if you like to work with 6.5-inch squares, then you probably want to cut, have a scrap system where you cut your leftovers into sizes that work for you, like 6.5 squares or 5-inch squares, things like that.
And you've mentioned that before, and I think it's smart where, you finish your quilt, you're not in the middle of a project or you don't have a deadline, take all those scraps that are shoved into a drawer, and actually cut them into shapes, whether it's squares or block. And then all of a sudden you're more motivated to use it.
And you start seeing them and come out.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing to do. It can be a little, if you're the sort that can sit down and do that for a while, and make that something you're going to do for the rest of the day, because you're not feeling inspired to do anything else. But other people need a time frame. So you could set a timer for like 30 minutes and kind of get a bunch of your scraps under control, and then put the rest aside. And then another time when you're feeling like you can tackle it again, another 30 minutes. But don't overwhelm yourself with just all those scraps.
Yeah, well, you are so organized. Like I would be down the rabbit hole in like 4 hours later and cutting, and but I get it. You're right, because then it's more manageable. And not as much of a
I'm sitting here thinking of my Tula bag scraps.
like
and that's and that's it is. I have found it inspiring or encouraging when I go through those scraps, because I do see things that I like, and I start setting them aside and saying, okay, these would go together rather nicely, and I could work on something, and look at all these 2x4 rectangles I have, and I could do something with those. And so it becomes, and maybe you're in the midst of kind of like one of those doldrums where you can't think of anything interesting to do. If you start cleaning out your scraps or organizing your fabric, you start seeing things that you love, and then the juices start flowing, and you start getting different ideas of, oh, I could do this, or I'm going to look for an idea for this, or whatever. And it just kind of helps rekindle that creativity that all of us have inside of us.
I love it. Get the creative juices going. Okay, so is this, I don't want to misspeak, is this a class?
This will be a class, a log cabin class.
Okay.
I have been log cabin quilts for me are one of my favorites, and I've been making them for it was probably one of the first quilts I ever made was a log cabin. And my daughter has that one. And the logs on them, if you look at this, all the logs are equal. Well, on that one, like the outside logs are like little strips and maybe they're angled and I looked at it. I wanted to use it and I borrowed it from her one day and I thought, oh, this is awful.
It was your first one, right?
It was my first one. So I've come a long way since then. I've developed some ways of doing them. I don't use
Bought
any
ruler.
I did not buy a ruler. I don't
Bought
use
an
any
quilt.
nope, I don't use any special things. I just use 1.5. Well, you can use any size strips you want. And that's one of the nice things about log cabins. These strips here, mine are 1.5 in this case. You can make them smaller, which is very dramatic. You can make them larger. This little square in the center, you can make that little square in the center any size you want. You could, I have one log cabin where the center square is a star. And I think it's like a 3-inch star, and then the logs are built around it, and it's really kind of cool. So you can do all kinds of things. And so the class will help you decide how you want to make your log cabin, and then it will show you how to make sure that when you finish your log cabin blocks, that they're all the same size, which is a really nice thing.
I love that. Do we have dates yet?
Yes.
March?
First three weeks of March.
Okay, beautiful. We've never offered log cabin here. We've sold a bunch of log cabin AccuQuilt dies, and I've had people come in. Log cabin, if I remember when I first started in the industry, I was like, all right, I got to learn some quilting lingo. Mm-hmm. Well, log cabin was number one. Like that was the first thing I learned, and so that was always my go-to. Mm-hmm. I know what I'm talking about. I've heard of the log cabin. Mm-hmm. We've never offered it here. So a lot of people, I think of it as a beginner block or pattern, but it doesn't have to be technically. Also, it's really cool. And you said it's traditional, but I love the effect of this quilt.
Yeah.
So whether that's traditional, I don't know, because I don't usually say that I like traditional anything.
Well, and the log cabin just offers so much variety. So I have it put together in this diamond shape, I guess. But it can be done in anything that you can do with half square triangle, because essentially what you're doing, a log cabin block is a half square triangle block. And so whatever you can do with a half square triangle, you can do with a log cabin. So there's just so many ways you can put it together, and they're just really delightful, fun quilts. And it is the log cabin has become the quilt that I make for people when they get married. And
nice. Okay, so in March, if you've never done a log cabin, or if you've just never taken a class with Joann, you should take one.
It's not up yet.
It's not up there yet, but it will be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we just decided this morning.
See, I'm not that out of the loop. Yeah, they talked right before we went on. I didn't say good morning to Debbie and Patricia and Pamela from Cold, Rhode Island. Ooh, I bet. Ruth, a whole bunch of people. Denise said that was a great idea, by the way. Carol, good morning. I see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. I love seeing not only familiar faces, but every once in a while we get some new people in there. So again, thank you for sharing. If you do with your friends, if you don't, start. It helps.
Never too late.
So we appreciate it. And I love this idea of taking from all the quilts you do. That's really cool.
Yeah, this would be fun with Tula Pink. Your leftovers, those of you doing the Tula Pink club, or if you just like Tula Pink, this would be a delightful idea with Tula Pink.
Yeah. Awesome. Is that it for us?
It's all for me.
I'm calling it.
It's over.
It's all for you. It's 9:50. Yeah, we bad long. So apologies. I think twice we froze. If you're watching this back, thank you for sticking around, because this is the end, obviously. So that means you made it through. Thank you. We'll try to get that fixed. I think the Wi-Fi is the issue. So fingers crossed. We'll figure it out. But thanks for watching and hanging out with us. Quilt show. Clubs, tons of clubs, and study hall.
Okay.
This Saturday, we'll talk all about the classes. So have an amazing week. Live to create.
And enjoy the journey.
It feels so good when it actually works.
Right.